Thank you all for being with us tonight. I do wish to begin by acknowledging that we are holding this meeting on the territories of the Sauk and Sianu Nations, and we're here with gratitude today for their longstanding relationship to the oceans and waters and the mountains that continues to this day, the relationship to the land. Okay, council, we have our agenda in front of us, so I'll look for a motion to approve tonight's regular meeting of council, moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. There is no new business or any supplemental, so it's just straight as it is. All those in favor, please, and that's unanimous. Thank you. We have meeting minutes here for adoption, a block of them. We have September 25th regular, special council October 10th, regular council October 10th, special council October the 16th, special minutes of October 24th, regular of October 30th, and special council of October 30th. So the motion would be that all the follow those meeting minutes be adopted as circulated. Moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Pearson. And it is my understanding Councillor Bateman has already sent through his edits.
Yeah,
minor edits. Yes, thank you very much for those. So on that, I'll call for a motion, please. All those in favor, and that's unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to right into our delegation of 5.1. So welcome. Tonight, we do have a presentation from Melanie Cunningham and Sherry Thompson from the Sauk Shelter Society. So if you could please come forward, feel free to bring another chair if you like. If you could turn on the microphone, and when you start speaking, our staff will turn on the timer, and we have 5 minutes allocated for your presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for having us here. So as a part of our ongoing efforts to support the community and raise awareness about homelessness, we are organizing the annual Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser. The CNOI is a significant event aimed at raising funds to provide essential services and support to those experiencing homelessness in our community. The event scheduled for February 24th, 2024 will bring together community members, volunteers, and local businesses in a collective effort to make a positive impact. To ensure the success of this vital fundraiser, we are seeking financial support from the municipality to advertise and promote the event effectively. We believe that an increased visibility will not only generate more participation, but also foster a stronger sense of community engagement in addressing the challenges faced by our neighbors experiencing homelessness. We believe that this event aligns with the municipality's commitment to community welfare and social responsibility. By supporting the Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser, the municipality will play a crucial role in addressing homelessness and fostering a sense of unity within our community. We kindly request a financial contribution of $4,000 from the municipality to ensure the success of the Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser. Your support will not only make a significant impact on our fundraising goals, but also contribute to creating a more compassionate and supportive community. We appreciate your time and consideration of our request. Thank you for your ongoing commitment to the well-being of our community.
As you know, social media reaches many people, but there are still a lot of people in Sauk region that do not have or choose not to have social media. The Sauk News Mirror can reach those people by posting an ad in their paper. We want to reach as many people as possible to make CNOI our biggest annual fundraiser, which would ease the stress of grant writing and smaller fundraisers such as bottle drives. I'm told by Mr. Publisher, Sluggett, thank you, that he would give us the same rate as he gives the District of Sauk. So therefore, 14 weeks of advertising, which is what we would get from now until CNOI, February 24th. If we had full page ads at a cost of $1,000, that would be one a month. That would equal the $4,000. Half page ads cost $500. So we could have 7 bi-weekly half page ads at $500 each, which is $3,500. 14 once weekly quarter page ads at $2.50 each would be 3,500. 7 bi-weekly quarter page ads at $2.50 each would be 1,750. So obviously we'd like to have the biggest bang for our buck, and I don't know that we want to do full page ads, but certainly half page ads every other week would be quite a nice spread to get the word out there. People would notice it. You know, we want to be up front and center and keep putting it out there so that it's in everybody's minds. And hopefully we'll generate a lot more businesses to come forward and be our corporate sponsors and generate more people to walk for us, raise money for us. That's our idea.
Okay, thank you. I see we have a bit of time on the timer, so I'll ask council for any questions that you're asking, any ideas here before we put a motion forward. Go ahead, Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, how much in your estimation did we raise last year in Souk? Did you have a way to capture that? Like,
Yeah, we
I mean,
raised it.
$4,000 like invested will bring in X number.
Well, that's difficult because we've never done this before. We've always relied on social media and putting up posters, which we will
I mean, how
still.
much should we raise?
Oh, well, last year we raised just under 30,000.
30K.
Year before it was 25, year before it was just under 20. Our campaign goal this year is to raise 100,000. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know, but that's.
Well, you gotta have a goal.
We gotta have a
Yeah,
goal. We
I
thought,
don't.
you know, we'll just go with bigger.
Yeah, I don't have a problem personally supporting it. I do have a little bit of a qualm of starting the program too early. Because when you look at the Souk News Mirror, there's Santa's breakfast, there's parades,
Right.
there's all sorts of things that distracting,
Yeah.
and people probably not thinking along that line until the new year. So I don't know whether you factored that in or not. You know, for me, I'm not gonna tell you how to do it
Yeah.
because that's your job.
If-
But I'd rather see a bigger ad in January and February than a lot of little ads that get lost in the paper. So it's just a suggestion.
That's good.
The official launch is actually December 1st,
Okay.
but we could definitely consider before putting ads in.
Yeah, I
Wait
think
till
the best
January.
bang for your buck, you know, knowing how people look at that paper. They soon go blind if they see the same ad 3 or 4 weeks in a row and they just flip the page
Okay.
over. So
Good point.
anyways, just a little suggestion there.
Yeah.
I think that's about the only ones. that
I have had businesses say, you know, you need to get on this earlier because if you want corporate sponsors, we plan for our donations before the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know, when I've approached people in
Yeah.
January, February, they
Yeah.
said, well, you're too late. We already picked who we want to make a donation to in October, November.
Okay,
So that was.
Yeah, you
really
have to
where
weigh
we
it
were
off.
coming from.
Understood.
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Councillor Pearson.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. And thank you for the work that you do outside of here, because that's, you know, the presentation is small compared to what you guys do. So my question through the chair to Director of Finance, are we close to the end of the year with council contingency, and how much money do we have left? Or do we have, maybe I shouldn't ask how much we have left. Do we have enough to cover this? With-
Yes, to your worship, there is the budget $60,000. There's about 55,000 spent this year. Potentially more coming with headhunter billing, so it's almost tapped out. In that, there's about $5,000 left. There's $1,600 left in the sponsorship budget. And I'm not 100% sure what happened with the rest of the community grant budget, if council made a resolution to move that to something else. I was just gonna confirm that piece.
I don't recall that. But
You
thank
know,
you.
there was a little bit of. The community grant budget, it wasn't fully spent, but of course, there's a proper intake for that as well. So it's a slippery slope if that funding source was going to be used, I guess. So currently, right now in council contingency, there's $5,000 left for the rest of the year, with more bills most likely to come in.
Okay, Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, so thank you for your work, and it's great to see this established as an institution in Souk and this continual growth and vital funding to the Shelter Society. All monies go to the Shelter Society, correct? Yes. I'm wondering, in your 4,000, does that include creative or design? Or how does that work?
The actual ad design?
Yeah,
Well, we would get input from Coldest Night of the Year as to what they want to see in that ad. We'd have to get their approval. So yeah, Sherry and I would create something, ship it off to them, make sure we've got their approval to represent what they want to see represented, and we'll go from there.
yeah.
So we're not planning on hiring anybody to do anything creative.
All right, that's good. I hope your ads will be very Souk specific, because this community has supported Coldest Night very
Yes.
strongly. I mean, Souk Harborside Lions,
Yeah,
Team Machosen, Lioness Lions, John Muir. So, you know, there's a lot of groups have stepped forward. So I hope you
Yes.
can use that history to drive more
absolutely.
interest.
Yeah.
In terms of sponsors, how, apart from these ads, do you go to door to door with the chamber,
Yeah,
or?
well, our vice president this year is our team lead on the sponsorship, so she's got a plan, and hopefully she'll be firing out emails, knocking on doors, do whatever she needs to do to get the businesses on board.
Mhm.
I know a lot of the business in Souk sponsor sports organizations. That's primarily what they look at doing. So it has been a little bit difficult to access some businesses in the past.
Okay, well, great work and good luck with this. It looks like, anyway, good. Dana.
Go ahead, Counselor Lajeunesse.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, businesses like to get an early heads up as to where they're gonna sponsor events and things. What about asking the chamber to help with getting the word out
Yep.
early?
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Deb Schenk is a really good supporter of Souk Shelter Society, and I'm sure she'll be more than happy to get the word out for us. Even the Lions Club, yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Just a comment would be that should this pass, you may want to consider in the ad space is just sharing maybe a testimonial from local residents that are accessing the shelter, and maybe how that's made an impact on their lives for the better. So you sort of hear those stories there. I think if you talk to the publisher, he can help with the layout and the framing is what he does. He's always very skilled at that.
Yeah.
To be that, okay, yes, you have the standard pieces with Cold Night of, all the standard pieces, but maybe just introducing those pieces on how your work is directly impacting, and because people do sometimes want to know that side, that
Yes.
human side of how this effort is making a difference. And I think those are very telling. There may be the opportunity if in working collaboratively with the Mirror, that you see it with the Gathering Place in Search, and if you reach out to either Mary Dunn or Rick Robinson, how they're working together to showcase the needs of what seniors are looking for and the collaboration that's occurring. That they could also tell that story and also do some interviews perhaps that would showcase what that life is like, so
Yeah.
that we can help together eliminate the stigma of what's
Absolutely.
occurring there, and find a way to just sort of turn that conversation a little bit, that these are humans in our community that also need to be lifted up, and this is what their experience. And you may have someone that could share how they got there. I don't know, like those things, but that might add that, yes, you'll have the pieces that you need to have. But it'll also, if you, in the larger ad space, be able to highlight something, or even the work that you're doing and why you're doing it, why you're inspired to keep on doing this work, your story in there, or other shelter staff and what they're seeing, and just to add that human component perhaps.
Good idea.
We do have a meeting with Kevin at the Mirror tomorrow, so we'll certainly get the wheel
Because he's,
rolling. And
as a reporter, he's always looking for different
yes, different
items
angles.
of interest and other sides, and sometimes people writing in are, yes, they may have a negative impact for that reason, but let's look at the other side here. No one's choosing to be in that situation, and this is how that happened.
Yes.
Just some thoughts there. Okay.
Thank you.
So council, I'm just gonna put this forward because we need to fill in the blanks. It would be that council sponsor the coldest night of the year event for 4,000 with funds to come from council contingency. We got to start it with something because we're looking at blanks. But in terms of other conversations, we can amend the budget. Okay, so moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Beddoes. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Pearson?
No.
In the microphone? No?
No, I would not like to speak to it.
Okay.
I think it's clear.
Councillor Beddoes?
Yeah, I would actually like to speak to it. Homelessness is not getting any better. It's getting worse, and it's very alarming. And I think even a lot of the people in a few years ago say, "Well, just run them out of town." They realize now that out of town is everywhere. It's not just us. You go up to Nanaimo, and it's just amazing how many people are living on the streets. So even to bring it to me, it's worth the $4,000. Just bring it to the front of everybody's mind that this is all our problem. We have to get on with solving it. Hopefully the province kicks in money, but yeah, no, I support your
Thank
question.
you. Thank you, Al.
Councillor Bateman?
Yeah, so I absolutely support this, of course. We had a meeting of the Sauk Homelessness Coalition just this afternoon. We're having a look at our strategic plan. And one of the key points that the strategic plan highlights is the need for stable, long-term guaranteed funding. So that's important from the province. And thank you to the District of Sauk for the service agreement and community grant support. However, here's an example of the Sauk shelter taking matters into their own hands and really going for it. I really applaud your ambition and the fact that this event keeps growing. I always think of Miles for Millions, which was something I participated in as a teenager. There was a long time ago, but it raised tons of money for good causes. And I know you're reaching out to the schools again this
Yes.
year and getting young people involved. Fantastic. And I'm sure the district will again come up with a team and participate.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Anything else? No. Okay, so thank you for the work that you're doing. I am in support of this as well. I recognize that it is, it's the taxation of property that is funding this. But this is a growing problem, and it's volunteers and helping hands and a lot of people with a lot of helping hands that are making this happen. So thank you for that you're doing. For those that think it's like traffic, tell me a community that is not dealing with this in the world today. I'd like to know where that is. Yes, I just returned from vacation. Yes, I was in Honolulu, population 1 million people, serious problems there. People were living on the beach, talking to locals. It's a growing concern, and they have their own version of the East Side that typically tourists don't visit, but it's there. And the struggle is real. I was in Hamilton. I walked across the road, not jaywalk, but there was a light to the convention center. I saw someone lifted away in an ambulance right outside the entrance, probably 10 people struggling every day on this 5-minute walk, not even across the street, all over the place. And yes, I feel that I look for the province to provide the support that local governments desperately need in delivering this. We're in the realm of land use planning, and this has landed on us. And since I became mayor, it's continually growing. It was sadly, the opioid situation is worsening. It's not getting better. Schools have programs to provide food for children who show up with nothing in our town right now. Food bank is continuing to grow. I'd like to see that number go down, but it's not. So we need to do our part in the best way we can. I think it's great that you're collaborating with the mayor, they'll provide some local perspectives. And I think we need to see a bit more of the human side of this and drop a bit of the judgment. No one wants to be there, and it's a tough time out there for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So thank you for what you're doing. So I'm going to call the question on this. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Keep us
Thank
posted on your
you.
plans.
Yeah.
And that was February the 24th.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
So,
you so much.
Thank you for
Take
being
care.
here tonight. Okay, so we'll move on to our next item here, which is our item 6, report of the Chief Administrative Officer. Ms. Gray, please.
Thank you, your worship. Not too much to add to the report today. On the events side, lots of fun community events coming up in the next month or so, with Christmas upon us. So, anyone looking for information on that is, encouraged to go to our website, the events page, as well as just send an email or give us a call, and we'll be happy to share some of the many fun events that are happening in the community over the next few weeks here. On the human resource side, we're actively recruiting for an engineering technologist, flex firefighter, and trying to replenish our general support clerk auxiliary pool. And as well as a new recruiting we're adding to the list today would be the resignation of our Director of Planning and Development, Matthew Palo, submitted his resignation today. I just wanted to take this opportunity. His last day will be Friday in the office. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank him for his years of service with the district. He brought some stability and calmness to these council meetings, which is greatly appreciated. His professionalism was always above bar, and I'm just going to wish him well in his future endeavors and thank him for his service here. So on that, not much more to say. Lots of weather events coming up. Again, check our website. Communication will be issued for any closures due to floods or anything like that. Always on top of that with our new emergency program manager, Jason Humphreys, will help amplify that message this year and going forward. So looking forward to those further communications that will be occurring. And the last piece would be just a couple of major projects happening. Obviously, everyone's quite aware, I'm sure, of the church roundabout project that is actively happening. Goal is to at least have it, what is it called? First lift paved before the asphalt plants close down for the winter, which is good news. So it shouldn't be gravel. Hopefully that's a goal we're trying to achieve. But further updates will be provided. These are critical infrastructure projects happening in the district right now. And I appreciate everyone's patience as we're working through this, and do your best to find alternative routes if you can. And we're doing our best to minimize disruption. And as always, any questions, we're info@SOOC, and we're happy to respond to those. And I will leave it at that.
Thank you very much for your report, Ms. Gray, both the verbal update and for what you've provided here. Is it safe to assume that the Otter Point construction just next to us is complete now? I noticed that since I'm back, the crew has moved off the Otter Point Road and it looks paved to me. So is there any more disruption on Otter Point?
I'll look over to our manager of engineering, make her work for it tonight.
The paving on Otter Point is complete. They still have the parking lot for the park they have to do, and there's some more sidewalk they have to put in. So the sidewalk's not open yet, but they're getting really close. They'll be moving the fence off the road before December because we need the road to plow.
Well, that makes sense. But in terms of road work itself, it looks.
The paving is
complete,
done, the
yeah.
culvert's completed, all of that. There shouldn't be any more problems on the actual road surface. There will be line painting that has to be done though.
Yeah, but that would probably wait till the spring, I guess.
They're running out of time if they want to do it this year.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of wet out there, so,
Yeah.
okay. No, that's fine. I'm like, oh, look at this. That's pretty cool. Okay. And then also for the other dates, updates, there's been a lot that's pushed out just on the parks and Sandbag Station, which is active and all those pieces. So thank you for that. Mr. Paolo, we'd like to thank you. We've had some interesting times here together. You joined us when the world was closed to COVID. And then made your way out west to join with us here, and then everything reopened, and it is what it is today. But just really appreciate your professionalism, the respect that you've always shown to members of council, myself, always holding the district policies very firm. Is what the public really, really respects and applauds you for, and that has not been easy. So I just really want to thank you for that. This Friday, I thought it was next Friday, this Friday. Oh, wow. Okay, so a few short days. I'll look to catch you in the office sometime before you go, but we wish you well. Thank you for everything and good luck out there. Are you able to share where you're going?
Yes, I'll be joining the Ministry of Housing. So certainly what's happened over the last years have been, it's very interesting to me, and certainly with my experiences across this country working in local government and previously in the provincial government as well, I feel a certain duty to lend my experience to the ministry and help us address the housing crisis. So I look forward to accomplishing that in my new role with the Ministry of Housing, and certainly will be sharing my experiences from the District of Sooke and the ongoing challenges with addressing housing.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm grateful that the province will have someone with your expertise there to at least show the local government challenges with the legislation that they're adopting. Might have more to say if I found that they headhunted you and took you from us. Okay, all right, fine. I'll let them off the hook for that. But I think it's just with what's happening, we need to work on this together. And when one order of government dictates to another, it doesn't go well. It's undemocratic. I have a real problem with that. But at least, you know, hopefully I won't be yelling at you through the Zoom screens in the future. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so on that note, we will, yes, can you want to throw a comment out? It is your last time to ask Mr. Palo something.
No, I'm not going to ask Mr. Palo anything. I'll wait for him to return one day at the hot mic. It relates to the backyard burning piece. So November 1st, in my personal experience, I was driving around town and someone was burning on a very, poor index day. So I was wondering, what does it require 2 complaints to bylaw to get action on something like that? Or chief, through you to the chief, are you aware of these situations, and how does it play out?
That's a great question. So it's an interesting beast coming here. When I was working in my previous work world in Ontario, backyard burning didn't exist. Then I moved a little further west and it existed in that municipality as well. And coming here, it's full on again. So it's interesting here. There's a season. You're supposed to follow the rules put in place, watch the venting index, so on and so forth. The challenge we have here is the venting index. It's not overly accurate for this particular area. So people get frustrated. And then obviously they know they're allowed to burn and they choose to possibly do it on not the best day. What can we do about that? Well, we can receive complaints. I guess we could write a ticket. I guess it really depends on who it's bothering and what the result of that is. So are you living beside an asthmatic who's having breathing difficulties? Do you have laundry on the line? Are your windows open? Is your house being polluted with smoke? So on and so forth. So you kind of get the picture. It's a difficult one. We try not to charge people. I don't know to this point if we have this particular year. I can't speak too much about the past, but obviously as we work through our fire master plan, one of my tasks is to revisit our bylaw and really take a closer look at the burning bylaw. And, we're obviously going to have some interesting dialogue about this, and we may not please everybody, but I think it's something that needs to be addressed. So I'll leave it at that.
So really getting that weather station here in our region is pretty critical. Not a weather station.
Well, we do have one in Colwood, which isn't that far away. So I'm not convinced the weather station in Sooke is going to solve our problems. And I know there's been some previous discussion around that. I went through the records and had a quick peek at that as well. So I don't think that's our answer, but it might be. So I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you. Others, if it's on burning, I'd like a notice of motion where we would discuss that separately. Okay, thank you. Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, this is due with the CAO's report. I just want to add my personal note to Matthew. I work with him very closely with the OCP, and your professionalism was just superb. I always got a straight answer from you quickly, and a little bit of laughter too when I talk to you. Very professional, and I think I'm happy to hear you're going to the ministry. It'd be nice to have somebody on the inside that is aware of our problems out here. And if anybody knows what they are, it'd be you. So good luck. And I don't think it's the last we've seen of you. Thanks again.
Councillor Lajeunesse?
I was gonna say something about burning, but I'll echo Councillor Beto's sentiments there. Thanks, Matthew, for your service, and hopefully we won't see the last of you just yet.
Councillor Pearson?
Yes, thank you, Matthew, for your time here, and it's been a pleasure to work with you, and good luck on your future endeavors. You're going to do fine.
Okay, so on that, it'll be that council receive the report of the Chief Administrative Officer for information. Moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Beddoes. Anything else? All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 7, public question and comment period. So this here would be for all items on tonight's agenda, except for meeting minutes that have been adopted. If you could please step forward, provide your name and address, or pardon me, name and local government where you live. We do not require your home address. That's private information. And just let us know what agenda item you're looking to talk to.
Ellen Lors, you know where I live. I wanted to speak to sorry, have to find it here. It's the corporate services report. I was just curious because on page 74, it shows penalties and fines are up. Developer cost charges are down. License and permits are down. Subdivision fees are down. Rezoning fees down. Building permits down. Development permits down. And development variance permits up. So, having served on the Board of Variance, when you see a lot of variances being put forward, and when their budget is increased because of people coming forward for variances, what's wrong with the bylaws is what I'm looking at. And I would like to know if the district, I know we had talked about it, about looking at bylaws to have them reviewed to see how they are affecting the public. And in many ways, and I can talk to that another time, but some of the bylaws have been really restrictive and for people and costly. And there aren't bylaws that they should be coming for variances. They shouldn't be there in the first place. Another thing on page 81. Previous to that, the grants were turned down for the sewer. But it says that an 8-inch force main Kaltassin to Townsend is contingent on grant funds. So a force main from Kaltassin to Townsend, where did that come from?
I can't quite find the page in front of me.
It's on page 81.
Why is it like?
It says 3 of 3 in the budget.
Oh, okay, in the budget, I'm in the wrong. Okay,
Under sewer?
got it. It's likely because we're still advocating for that, even though we did not receive approval from the province on that, on the wastewater expansion to, like, on our big wastewater grant. We have continued to advocate for at least the Kaltassin connection. If I'm looking at the same thing as you.
Yeah, Kaltassin to Townsend. Is that where it joins? Is it Townsend? Does it not come out all further than that?
That's all. If we can get that answered when the staff presents on it, we can answer that for you. I think it has to do with I don't know this, so I'm gonna say it's because there needs to be an upgrade to a lift station, but and some under service work there, but we'll answer that when that report comes forward.
I also understood the people in Caltassin didn't want to have it come out there because the cost was too much. Have they been consulted? that
The
you're-
challenge for local residents there is without the grant, it's not, we
Even-
need the grant in order for them to be able to connect. Without the grant, it's not, it's cost prohibitive for
Well,
connections.
Even with the grant, I was looking at the map that we received with grant and without grant to go out there. We got the last day of the OCP and it still is, it's $40,000. Plus they have to pay, they bring it down to wherever their place is. That's pretty
Right.
cost
You
prohibitive.
may also recall, though, we have received petitions from residents and that's particularly of town asking to connect. And that's what started this whole process in the beginning, was those residents coming to council with signatures petitioning for inclusion.
Yeah, but I think when they found out the cost, there was a lot of don't do it. Anyway, you might want to review that. Guess that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you.
Other speakers this evening? Members of the public like to comment on the agenda? Last chance, only chance, unless you're an applicant, that would be different. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. We'll move on into our next section here, which is our consent agenda. So there's the one item on consent is the correspondence, and that would be that item 8 be adopted by general consent unless council members would like to extract for the next agenda. So Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, I'd like to extract item 32, excessive noise from top of Broomhill development.
Okay, item 32. So that'll automatically go to the next regular. Anything else from other members of council? I think, is it reasonable that for the Sun River correspondence, those will sit until there's a live application with Sun River, of which we don't have yet, to my knowledge? Okay, because we can pull those at that time.
Correct.
Okay, Ms. Temple?
We are also responding to anyone sending in Sun River correspondence to let them know what the public hearing and application procedure will look like so that they know when to chip in later on.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Anything else from members of council? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Need that clarity because I have been pulling items for other upcoming OCP zero carbon step codes. So with the Sun River, the correspondence will need to resubmit at the time of the public hearing. Unless we today pull it for inclusion.
Yes, because of the public hearing requirement, we'll be looking for people to submit at that time, but we can also, like we do with the OCP and the zero carbon step code, pull items that have come forward in the meantime. So we'll do both. We're letting them know what the process is so that they can stay tuned as well, but we'll watch for it to come forward at the appropriate time.
So to be clear, I do not need to pull number 12 here tonight.
No, we'll
thank
do
you.
that.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. So item 32 will come to November 27th. And then all remaining items from October 25th to November 8th will be received and filed. And that's all under the motion that's already been moved. We've moved and seconded, right? The general consent. No, we haven't. So I'll look for a motion then. Moved by Councillor Beddoes and seconded by Councillor Lajeunesse to adopt by general consent with the exception of the one. Okay. All those in favor then? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving into reports, which is item 9. The first one up, 9.1, is the Corporate Services Quarterly Report, July to September 2023.
Thank you, Your Worship. Corporate Services Quarter 3 update is provided in the agenda package for information. As you know, at the core of our department are 3 distinct functions. We have legislative services, records management, and bylaw enforcement. At full capacity, we are a team of 7. We've been down a member of our legislative services team for several months now, and staff have stepped up immensely during this time to support the work of the department and make sure that the key activities outlined on the screen are being delivered. Some highlights for quarter 3. Work continues on the development of a standard operating guideline manual for bylaw enforcement. The focus this past quarter has been on updating a risk analysis, examining scenarios in which bylaw officers often find themselves, and developing procedures to mitigate risk and ensure officer safety. We've implemented a two-person mandatory response protocol for some of these scenarios, including inspections of occupied homeless encampments. At the same time, we've begun forming more active partnerships with third-party social service providers to build a more compassionate and human-focused approach to working with, as was said earlier, our neighbors experiencing homelessness. Processes related to waste disposal are also being formalized in the parks. Sheltering in public spaces is an evolving challenge, and the numbers definitely are increasing in Sooke. Bylaw staff will be changing the way that we record statistics in order to better capture resourcing implications, and council will hear more about this in the coming months. Records management and legislative work continues as shown on the screen. The next two slides provide some quantification of our work in corporate services. You'll see that FOI numbers continue to remain high. Bylaw and business licensing numbers are generally stable with some quarterly fluctuations. Tickets and warning notices are down significantly when compared to the same period last year. This is a result of us hiring a temporary bylaw officer during the summer months of 2022, who was mainly focused on more simple infractions like parking, resulting in a higher number of tickets issued in the summer of 2022. Parking continues to be the highest volume complaint received by bylaw officers. Regular meetings with the engineering department have resulted in additional signage and line painting in several neighborhoods. Zoning noncompliance is the next highest call volume. Recent legislation announced by the province on short-term rentals is anticipated in the spring of 2024, and this number will likely be, that will be reflected in our numbers of zoning noncompliance calls. Current enforcement of short-term rentals is on a complaint basis, but the emerging information on the new legislation indicates that that model is likely going to have to change. The resourcing implications will become more clear as we get additional information on the new legislation. Looking forward to next quarter, council can expect to see increased bylaw officer presence in the community as we transition to full administrative functionality in our bylaw vehicles. Further discussion regarding the code of conduct will be forthcoming, and work continues on a new electronic document records management system, which is undergoing beta testing right now with staff. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Temple. Questions from members of council? Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, so through the Homelessness Coalition, we're aware that it's a policy of bylaw that two officers attend situations at, say, Ed McGregor Park, and Sooke RCMP is not always available to be the second. And of course, our two officers are on staggered schedules. So I'm wondering, is consideration being given by the district to the hiring of a third bylaw officer?
That's definitely something that the bylaw department would like to see, and that I think will come forward in the budget discussions. We've put it in for consideration, which would allow us to have more regular morning patrols of Ed McGregor. Currently, there's only 2 to 3 days a week in which we have 2 bylaw officers. So having a third person would allow us to have that more regular interaction with the folks staying at Ed McGregor.
And beyond Ed McGregor, what other bylaw matters would a third officer? I guess this will come up later.
That'll come in.
Just leave it be. Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Pearson.
Yes, thank you for your report and through the chair. So just a question on the zoning non-compliance. See, we have 16 complaints year to date, or is that, no, sorry, that's just the quarter, pardon me. What constitutes a zoning non-compliance report? Can I have a couple of examples?
Well, currently, any short-term rental complaints would
Okay.
fall under zoning non-compliance. So I imagine that is probably 50% of them right now, people calling about unlicensed Airbnbs,
Gotcha.
for example. Other issues that we see are often related to setbacks and people having structures too close to their neighbor's property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so seeing no other questions, the motion would be that council receive the corporate services quarterly report for July to September 2023 for information. Moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Pearson. All those in favor, and that's unanimous. Thank you. Next up is 9.2 Accessible BC Act Municipal Requirements Terms of Reference.
That's me again. Council's discussed the new requirements of the Accessible BC Act as they relate to municipalities several times over the past year. On September 11th, Council resolved to participate in a joint regional committee with other local municipalities. At this point in time, the membership will consist of Sooke, Langford, Highlands, View Royal, and Esquimalt. The committee is intending to host its first meeting on November 22nd and will move forward with drafting an initial accessibility plan. Committee agendas, minutes, and resources will be posted to our website, along with information on how members of the public, can provide feedback. Finalized terms of reference for the committee has been drafted, and staff indicated we would bring that forward for council information. So it's here tonight for your information. Thank you.
Questions from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Pearson.
Yes, thank you. And through the chair. So we talked in September, and one of the questions, is IACD, the former IACD, have they been involved in the drafting of the terms of reference?
We've had one meeting, if not two, with members of IACD. IACD, my understanding is currently they may be changing their structure to become a society is the most recent that I've heard. The intention is that we'll move forward at this point in time with it being an internal staff committee with from each municipality, and then work on bringing in IACD to work through the accessibility plan and bring on members of the public. The Accessible BC Act required that we have this work started by September. So we're just sort of getting on it, and then we'll be working through with the public and IACD in the future. But at this point, there isn't a set seat for a member of IACD.
Okay, as long as it's considered, because there's a lot of great work that traditionally has been like over the number of years that IACD has been doing. I just don't want to get that lost in the essence of the hard work that they've done throughout multiple communities.
And that's the sense coming from most councils in the region as well. So that's definitely at the top of mind for as this committee evolves.
Excellent, thank you.
Other questions from members of council? I just have one, like in the staff report or underneath the terms of reference where it references previous council action from September the 11th. Let's see here. The third bullet down, it refers to, and that under the terms of reference was joint intermunicipal staff accessibility advisory committee are approved, that the deputy corporate officer for Sooke be appointed to the committee as Langford's representative. Is that a typo or?
That's a typo. Will be
Okay,
for as Sooke's representative.
okay.
Apologies.
No, that's fine. I just thought I would. That's okay. That's clarity. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So then here would be then that council receive the Capital West Accessibility Advisory Committee's terms of reference for information. It's moved by Councillor Lajeunesse, seconded by Councillor Beddoes. Any comments, Councillor Lajeunesse? Councillor Beddoes? Anything from anyone else on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor then? And any opposed, none opposed is unanimous. Okay. So 9.3 is our 2023 third quarter financial operating report. There were some comments and questions brought forward by Ms. Lures earlier. So hoping Ms. Gray, if you could update those as we go through your report, please, or Benjamin or Mr. Curry. Thank you.
Yes, I'll hand this over to Mr. Curry.
Hey, thank you, Your Worship. Today's report is to provide council and the community with an update on the district's financial activity for the period of January 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2023, and compare the activity with the prior year in the financial plan. We provide this reporting to the council and the community to provide regular updates on the district's financial position and stability. I'd like to consider this report an evolving document and always open to feedback or input if you'd like to see additional information in this report each quarter. Just a high level summary of what's provided in the report. Revenue at the end of third quarter for 2023 is at 97%, including property taxes, and expenditures are 71% of annual budgeted amounts. This compares to 106% and 75% for 2022. Taxes and sewer revenues have been collected. License and permit revenue are expected to finish as budgeted. DCC revenue is tracking lower compared to 2022. Investment income revenue is well ahead of 2022. That's at 617,000 compared to 418,000 in 2022 in the prior year. This is primarily just due to higher interest rates. We're strategic with investing our money with MFA. We move funds over when needed for cash flow and keep as much in secure investments as we can when possible. Expenditures are tracking favorably against the 2023 budget. At the end of the third quarter, we have spent 71% of the operating budgeted expenditures. Salary and benefits are on track to finish for the year. Salary expenses are at 73%, and benefit expenses are currently 77% of the budgeted amount. Benefits are tracking slightly ahead just due to we had just an increase in users of our dental plan, and benefits just when we switched over to Canada Life at the beginning of the year. This can be like a normal thing when you switch over. There's just more information provided about the new benefit provider. And sometimes people are more excited about using the new benefits. Also in combination with perhaps more people getting dental work done post-COVID and catching up on some of their medical. Included in the report, I have the capital project status update to answer just the question from earlier in the meeting. That Kaltassin Sewer Project is considered like a placeholder when the capital budget was done earlier in the year. It was applied for in part of a larger project for a grant for, I believe it's included on page 83 of 94 of 23 million that was requested for the Zook wastewater collection expansion. Kaltassin, this included Whiffen Spit as well. So these were included in the capital plan and then contingent on grant funds. So if the project doesn't proceed or if the grant isn't received, the project doesn't proceed. So we do keep it there as a placeholder. I believe the amount that was in for 2023 would have just included some design and then to kind of get the project going if the grant was received. So the grant was not received in 2023. So we just continue rolling that project forward if it was still a priority for council in the future capital plan. Included on the page 83 of 94 is just the update of the grant status. So this includes grants that we have, current grants. It includes recently completed grant projects, pending grant applications, and declined grant applications. If there's any particular questions about any parts of the report, I'm happy to answer and take a deeper dive into any parts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. Questions from members of council? Okay, so then it would be then that council received the 2023 third quarter financial operating report for information. Moved by Councillor Beddoes, seconded by Lajeunesse. Anything on the motion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Bylaw section. Item 10, we have one, it's 10.1. This is a bylaw number 893-600-98 zoning amendment bylaw for 2023-2197 Otter Point Road. Over to staff, please.
Thank you. This bylaw is before council tonight for consideration of first and second reading and also for the scheduling of a public hearing. Purpose of the proposal is to consider allowing a private 24-hour gym to locate within the commercial units on the property just next door here at 2197 Otter Point Road, and to operate this within the commercial components of that mixed-use building. Property is currently zoned C1 neighborhood commercial. It's adjacent here to Municipal Hall as well as John Phillips Memorial Park. It's within walking distance to our town center area. You'll recall back in April of 2021, council authorized the issuance of a development permit with variances to allow for the construction of the 2 mixed-use residential and commercial buildings. They're currently under construction and will comprise of 77 residential units and 8 commercial units that will be accessible at grade. Commercial units can be combined to create larger commercial spaces to allow for a variety of tenant uses in those spaces. To accommodate the private club on the site, a site-specific text amendment to the C1 zone to permit private club is required. The applicant's proposing this to accommodate a 24-hour gym within the building's commercial space. Rezoning to permit private clubs would allow for any business that aligns with the definition, as you see here on the screen for a private club, to operate within those units. And this could also include martial arts classes, which was recently discussed as another possible use, as well as private youth clubs and space for private lessons. So distinguishing component to this is basically the membership component to a private club versus a public club that anybody could just walk in and use at any time, or operated by a government agency. This is more kind of membership based. And just based on the terminology of our zoning bylaw that uses the terminology private club. The text amendment will be written into the conditions of use section of the C1 zone so that this use will only be permitted to operate on the subject property, as otherwise gyms and other recreational businesses are not permitted to operate on a property within a C1 zoning. So again, at the end of the C1 zone, we have conditions of uses listed, and typically when it would be site specific, it would list the legal description so that that use would be allowed only on that property. So with that, staff are recommending to proceed with first and second reading, and then to proceed as well with the scheduling of the public hearing to receive further input at the public hearing date. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Paolo. Just a couple of questions. Does this take up all the available commercial space, or is it just part of it?
It's presumed that in building B, so the one that's closest to Highway 14, it would take up that entire space, and then building A would still have its commercial units still available for other uses such as retail, office, bakery was another use considered at the development permit stage.
Okay, and in the event then that this goes ahead and there's an interest in doing like eco-fit in the park, so then that's where commercial use permit of the park would come into play in a different way. It doesn't just grant like all of this would be contained within the building itself. However, should there be a desire to expand to fitness outside of that, then that can be entertained through our park use permit.
Correct, because the park is a separate property. These proposed amendments to the C1 zone is site specific, so only to 2197. And then within John Phillips, that would be a park use permit allowance to expand out there should that be supported.
Okay, and then in terms that it's not a fitness, but just a private club, it would be obviously, someone asked me, I'm just gonna say it, if it was like an indoor vape lounge, and I said, well, no, because, or like a cigar club, and I said, no, because all of those have to be done per the clean air bylaw outside. So this would be, yes, it's a private club, and I understand it was for fitness purposes, not to use not to smoke anything, which would have to conform to the clean air bylaw.
Correct. Certain
Yes.
Other layers of regulations that would need to be adhered to. So when we think of private club, we're thinking about the recent discussion about a martial arts class or a dance studio, things of that nature.
Okay, the question was asked, because I had some residents came back from a cigar event in Vegas, and so they were, I think, looking to have some aficionado type of thing, and I guess in the world of social media, it turned into this, so I'm just asking for that reason, but thank you for bearing with me. Other questions from members of council? Okay, so The recommendation here would be then that council give first and second reading to the zoning amendment bylaw number 893 600-98 2023 to amend section 401.8 of the C1 neighborhood commercial zone of zoning bylaw 2013, bylaw number 600 to include private club as a primary permissible use on the property legally described as lot 1, section 24, Siouxland District Plan VIP 799552197 Otter Point Road. Moved by Counselor Pearson and seconded by Counselor Beddoes. Would you like to comment, Counselor Pearson?
No, actually I wouldn't.
Okay, Counselor Beddoes. Anything from anyone else? Public hearing is coming. There is a high demand though for 24-hour fitness within our community as we likely those of you who have attended Sea Park meetings at our commission there have heard. There's limitations there. And so, but there is certainly a lot of interest. So it's good to see that sort of spread out within the community. There obviously will be a public hearing. But just to motivate on this, I am in support of this and moving it forward. There is a high demand, which is great. People want to stay fit and people work all kinds of hours and they need to make it work in a way that's best for them. So thank you to staff and for the applicant for bringing this forward for this property here. Okay, call the question. All those in favor, and that's unanimous. Thank you. The next part of this then is that council directs staff to schedule a public hearing for zoning amendment bylaw number 893 600-98 2023 in accordance with section 466 of the Local Government Act. Moved by Counselor Pearson and seconded by Counselor Lajeunesse. On the public hearing, just technically speaking, if we had everything aligned with the provincial legislation that they want, then we wouldn't be hosting a public hearing. Does anyone know that? As I'm trying to process that, if it aligns with our OCP, then we would still be required to advertise that we're not having a public hearing per the new provincial regulations, but here's an ad to tell you we're not having a public hearing.
Yeah, so the way the legislation currently reads, that is the requirement, but there'll be more updates coming just with regards to how that is to be addressed. I would hope that would be simplified a lot more because we're still going through a cost exercise of posting in the newspaper and having all this. So I think we'll have to wait and see what those regulations look like.
Okay, well, given this is your last staff report and I know where you're going, you can tell them that this all costs local government expensive dollars that we don't have to advertise for something we're not supposed to do. So perhaps they can either provide the funding tool or I suggest we create our own ad that suggests something different, but we'll leave that for another day. Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor, that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you to the applicant. This will be in 2 regular newspapers, I believe. So will we hit the timing for this coming parent publication? No, it's too tight because it's Tuesday today.
I think the intention is to have it at December 11th.
December 11th would be the public hearing, and then council, as always, can do adoption the same night after the public hearing. So that might help, is what we're stuck with, just to advance things along. The timing is good when the gym opens, New Year's resolutions, and there you go. And I'll just add one more piece, because I know you probably all want me to stop talking, is even though Sea Park is a public government CRD piece, you still need a membership to work out there. There's punch cards, there's those pieces. So there is a business case though, as we all know, even when Sea Park put that gym in, it's not to take away, but it's to add more capacity within the community that, as we know, is growing, because it does get busy in that fitness center, particularly after school. So it just provides more options and training opportunities. So thank you for it. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. We've called the question on that, have we? I've done talking. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll move on into the agenda, into new business, of which I see none. So let's go to number 12, council correspondence requiring action. There's none. So verbal reports. 13. Councillor, we'll turn to our deputy mayor to lead us off.
I was asked deputy mayor. I attended the WorkLink opening the other day, along with Councillor Bateman and Lajeunesse, gave a little speech. very interesting, very encouraging, the work they do there. Well done. It was good. And the project manager was within budget, and that's sort of unheard of these days for some of these buildings. I also attended the fireman's banquet along with Councillor McMath and Councillor Bateman. Very, very good event. Saw, swearing in the new recruits. We had one sitting at our table. It was just very informative to hear what he went through and the pride when he got Rookie of the Year. It was something to see. Councillor Bateman made a bit of laughter there a few times when I talked about putting a dog collar on him that has a zap in it to have him be quiet at council meetings. But that was a good humor, and he took it well. Yeah, that's right. Okay, and at Sea Park last Tuesday, we said goodbye to Jim Perkins. He's 25 years service on the Sea Park Commission, which is odd because they're only supposed to be on 3 years. But anyways, he toughed it out for 25. We gave him a gift certificate. And then also Derek Bishop, who is the Wanda Fuca representative. He had 13 years. So I'm, as chair, I'm looking forward to getting some new blood down there. We'll be tackling our new strategic plan in the new year. And it's going to be pretty exciting. And also got a new sign coming up in the new year. That sign down there now that is used extensively for the community is going to be changed out for, I think we budgeted about 45,000 for it. And last from Sea Park is we had a representation and they're looking to put a junior A hockey team in Sooke, which would be very exciting. We had one before. This looks very promising, and local investors are bringing it here. So that's pretty good. Went to Remembrance Day ceremony with a lot of you, most of us. Soaking wet, and but it was heartening for me to see all the residents there. It didn't matter about the rain. We thought about those people in trenches. A little bit of rain is not a bad thing for us. The last thing is I did 2 radio interviews, one with CBC morning and CKNW out of Vancouver. I got some flack from staff about using the word willy-nilly. They needed me to explain what I meant by that. But very well received, and it was on our great topic of the provincial government. Now that we have somebody from the ministry here, will be. It was, I think it was very well received. So that's my report as deputy mayor and these other things.
Thank you very much for your work, Councillor Beddoes. Really appreciate all of that. Other updates from members of council? Over to Councillor Bateman.
So, as you say, I was at a number of those things. The Sooke Fire Rescue Annual Banquet was a delight. And I just want to extend congratulations to Firefighter of the Year, Mark Shostek. I got that pronunciation right? Okay. Yeah. And he's got a magnificent voice. He sang us Mamma Mia, I think. Saying, wow, it's quite something. Yeah. I did attend that Sea Park Commission meeting, CRD Board of Directors meeting in Mayor Tate's absence or Director Tate's absence. Colin Plant was reelected as chair for a 5th year. And my chosen Mayor Marie-Therese Little is first time vice chair of the CRD Board of Directors. Work BC Open House, that's a magnificent new structure. There is a boardroom that's freely available. It'll hold 12 people for any community groups that want to use that. And there are workstations for people coming in, and the whole team of staff there. We were talking about the old days in the Canada Employment Youth Center where they had index cards with possible jobs and you were on your way. Now you can walk in if you're in crisis or if you need some guidance, they are there to help. It's a whole new world for job seekers. Remembrance Day ceremony, and as I said earlier, the Sooke Homelessness Coalition met this afternoon. The community action team that we discussed the other week will be meeting ideally 2 Fridays from now, though we're awaiting a couple of doodle poll responses from our councillors Beddoes and St. Pierre. So I'll send a reminder about that tomorrow. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Pearson.
Yes, nothing extra to add. It was a very rainy event on Remembrance Day. Rainy is the understatement, I guess. Glad to see so many people turned out there. Respect our military past and present. Today, toured Macola Housing as it nears completion on Drennan Street. And it was, it's a very different looking project, I think, in my eyes, from what you see when you drive by. It's well laid out on the property. It's got some good community service amenities, trail down to Sea Park. And as the mayor pointed out while we were there, it's going to provide accessibility actually to Sooke Elementary School without being on the highway from people walking. So some good things there, and it's nearing completion and expects to be on the market of providing affordable homes in January of 2024. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Pearson. Counselor Lajeunesse.
Yeah, so last week I attended Sooke Region Historical Society meeting. They need to look at replacing their septic system or hooking up to the district wastewater plant at some point in the fairly near future. So we'll be hearing more about that. I did not attend the Remembrance Day ceremonies, unfortunately. I wanted to, but sitting in the rain is a little bit awkward. Let's see, the WorkLink, the opening of the WorkLink, there is one small boardroom for 12 people, but there's also a larger community space that will be available for community. And the work that they do is not only for people searching for jobs, they also provide a lot of services for people starting businesses and a lot of kind of support in that way. And it's amazing the depth of the services that they provide. I think most of us are aware that they help matching people up with jobs and resume writing services and all that, but it goes a lot further than that, what they do. And I would encourage people to go there and check it out. And yeah, toured the Macola project on Drennan also today. And it's really, yeah, from the road, I'm not all that impressed with how it looks, but getting inside and seeing the quality of the construction and really nice units and all with fabulous views, all from any side of the building. And there's also an amenity space there that's a good size, probably similar to the size of this room, that will be available for community groups to rent time for hosting events, etc. And it has a kitchen as well. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so thank you to everyone for looking after items while I was away. So I want to thank our deputy mayor, members of council for stepping up all over the place, as well as our staff for continuing on the good work that you're doing. So I really appreciate all of that. Took me just a couple of days. I didn't delete, we had a long layover in Vancouver, so I admit I was still checking my Outlook. And then I said, when I get on that plane, because life happens, and didn't fully believe we would actually exit the country, but we did. I deleted Outlook off my personal phone, so I had no means of checking it. But the stuff still finds a way, as it does. But otherwise, a very relaxing trip. It just took a couple of days to settle in that I don't have to check anything or be anywhere or do anything. It just, the process of putting your mind at ease there, it just took a bit of time. But our family traveled well. We had a really amazing time. A lot of it's the down time for Hawaii, and it's a bit lower. So some of the locals that I were chatting, we had a lot of time just to chat about what's going on. in Honolulu and the like. So very fascinating. Learned things that yes, it is a state. You'll have to read in the whole history of how it turned from being an independent republic to an actual, a state of America. But at the same time, there is a real movement to revitalize the Hawaiian language. It's spoken now and taught in all schools. It'll be what greets you at the airport, first in Hawaiian and then in English. Signage everywhere. There's 13 letters in the alphabet and different pauses. So a lot of that, the language is very visible. A real celebration of culture. So bringing back the cultural teachings. Hula is a dance. It's an oral way of communicating, just like we've learned many of our indigenous languages are spoken and sung and taught. So in that way of coming back, and even the movements within the dance itself. A lot of work to restore some of the reefs. So limiting visiting hours, limiting the number of people. Lifeguards were very diligent about when people were stepping on the reef and to get off it right away. Not that I was, but I heard that while I was observing this, and also talking about the connection between the lands and the people that live there, and to celebrate that. So I found that to be very interesting. It was expensive, and that makes it very hard on the local population as well. So some people are working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet, just because of the rising cost of everything. So it's just a reality. Air travel was interesting. Coming back, got bumped off the flight, had to push to get back on the flight because it was going. And then ferry and taxi travel all the way back because we couldn't get a connection to Victoria, but other people did. Long story, but just be mindful of that when you're flying and traveling. It's not always easy. The direct flights are great. Other than that, just got back at it. Wonderful to make it. I wanted to be back. I wanted to be with council, to be present for Remembrance Day, to lay our wreath. And it was hard once you march in, you can see people, but as more people join the crowds, it's kind of hard to see how big it is because you were a bit standing lower than everyone else. So others who were further back said that the biggest crowd they've seen in 3 or 4 years. So I'm glad to see a large number of residents come out despite the weather to be present. We have a lot of families that are serving, a lot of retired who have served. So I'm grateful that our community really showed their support, and thanks to the Legion for pulling it all off and putting it all together. Next parade, of course, will be the Santa Parade, which is coming up December 10th, I believe. Dusk. It's still going to be an evening as I'm looking at Councillor Beddoes. Same situation, but council. Yes, council may want to think about what we're going to do. We always talk about it, but let's give it some thought. And we may just be pulling Bruce the wagon, but so be it. That worked very well last year, and we'll coordinate the lighting of the tree or something. So stay tuned for all of those pieces. Thank you, Councillor Bateman, for attending the CRD meetings as well as the CPARK Commission meeting. My understanding through the current board chair is that committee appointments will remain the same. So I've confirmed I will continue to chair First Nation Relations, and all other appointments, as I understand, to be the same. So I appreciate all of that. Great to meet up with you. Thank you for arranging the tour for Makola for the Drennan building. To add to what others are saying, they are also putting in the community gardens. And then they have the amenity building there that could be potentially open. Maybe that's an opportunity for those that are doing that work in our community, maybe in a meeting place, but at least we're seeing another community garden come together, which was great to see. SIP is hosting its local leaders event next week. I will be moderating a panel there. So I just want to flag that because it's an opportunity for us to give input at the local level. All of this will, of course, flow to the Rising Economy Conference, which comes up in March, which we've attended in the past. So good to see that that's coming together there. And then tomorrow I'll be joining the SAUC. Providing some opening remarks. They are hosting, along with the Saco Lamb Foundation, as well as the West Coast IPCA support program, a nation building event here. It's called Estuary to Old Growth Gathering. So I think folks are probably traveling in today, and it'll go until the 17th. So I'll be there for most of tomorrow, unable to make all of the different pieces, but I'm grateful to have been invited and to be able to attend. So thank you, Councillor Bateman, for attending the meetings tomorrow. There has been a change. As you know, I co-chair a committee, a health committee. I don't spend a lot, there's like the Souk Health Committee, and there's this health committee, and there's that committee. But this is the Island Health and Souk Health Committee. That's exciting as it is. However, there's been a change in the manager there. So that was a meeting that I normally attend every 2 months, or we increase the frequency depending on events. It's to collaborate between Souk, the physician group, Island Health, and so forth, but there's a change there. So that's been lifted from my calendar. I'm still going to connect with the new manager that's coming in. I believe that might be my 5th or 6th manager since we've started work on this file. So it seems like we'll do a bit of, and then pick up more of the heavy lifting for the Island Health work. But their kind of pieces are at the moment are kind of done, because it was all about creating the service plan that Island Health endorsed. And then subsequently, it then had to go through the vetting through the Ministry of Health, through their oversight committee. And now here we are. So getting back to our Souk Health Committee, which is properly forming and kicking off next week. I know that some of you have expressed interest. So I thank you for your interest. It will be it's a committee of council, a mayor's committee. It will be open to the public, but it won't be webcast. And there's no real public input. So you may ask, well, gee, why is that? Well, because we give recommendations to council, who makes final decisions. So as those recommendations flow to council, they will be webcast. There will be public input on those, but the committee needs an ability to hash this out. The committee is meeting next Monday at 9:30. I just want to make sure I'm giving you the right details, because I thought that before you indicate that you really want to be on this, maybe it would be helpful to come and understand what's going on, and then you can decide if this is something you want to do. So rather than say, hey, I choose these people, why don't you come and check it out first and see that this is where you want to commit some extra time. We will be carrying on. Why can't I figure out how my calendar works here? I'm just going to give you those details so that you have them. So November 20th is a Monday, and it will be at 9:30 in the morning here in Chambers, probably. And likely just for 2 hours, and then we kick off our committee of the whole at 1:30 in the afternoon. So the idea would be to hold the same time and date. And I think also, as we give some thought to council committees, is to look at creating those patterns, because it gets very difficult when we start moving meetings all over the place, and then you have to run doodleballs, find availability, and so forth. Consistency is everything. So let's look at targeting that. And then it's the case of, okay, here's where we're at, and this is what we need to achieve and how best to do that. So I'll leave it at that. I wrote down Halloween because that was the last thing that I did here in Souk was Halloween. Traffic is very busy early. So it's something just to maybe, some folks were asking, was there an accident? It's just no. What happens when school lets out, a lot of children wear their costumes to school, and then they get met by their parents and they start trick-or-treating in town and visiting businesses. So it's likely that pedestrian use of all the crosswalks were very busy that day as treaters went from one mall to the other and back and forth and then out, finding their way home. So I know that it came to an absolute stop, like on the 4 lanes by 5 o'clock, everything was stopped. But I think it was all the crosswalks imaginable in Souk were heavily used. At one point, I believe a herd of dinosaurs were crossing the traffic circle. And amongst other assortments, we had a record at our home. There was over 500 treaters that came by our home. And overall, we had no incidents at our house, except we did run out of candy at 7:40, which is very early to run out of candy. And then there was an unfortunate, my neighbors do an amazing job of creating a haunted house. There was some obnoxious youth, I'll say, who did some tricks trying to wreck it, but they were quickly evicted from the haunted house. And then everything went fine. Very little litter that I picked up afterwards. It was busy. So a lot of candy and 3 flats of water. Children get very hydrated and usually they choose water over candy at about 7 o'clock. 2 kids did all of Sun River, and which is remarkable because that's a lot of walking. According to my brother, who grumbled a bit, he logged in 10,000 steps doing the treating with our version of Optimus Prime and some kind of a plague doctor that went out together. But it was a fun evening, and Souk always does a good show. Thank you, Otter Point, for hosting the firework display. I understand that gathering was well attended and a lot of fun as well. And obviously, despite the ban, some firecrackers did go off. It's the first time I haven't received a complaint about it though, but I think it's because we did our part there of keeping, it was warm and just keeping the community safe. So it is what it is. So on that note, I'll stop talking. Otherwise, you're going to bring some notice of motion about some sort of a caller, which I'm not going to go into about because I'll probably fight that one too. It is interesting, but we'll leave that in the competent hands of the firefighters, let's say. Okay, so we do have a release of closed meeting resolutions. So this is a resolution from the November 6th, 2023 in-camera meeting. And that is that council directs staff to engage Waterhouse Executive Search for CAO recruitment services. For those of you viewing that are interested, there will come a time where an ad will go out and resumes and applications will be accepted. And please send those to Waterhouse Executive Search and not to myself and not to council. We are bringing in someone in to handle those. So just saying to those viewing, if there are any, there's always one. Okay, and on that note, motion to adjourn, please. At 8:27, moved by Councillor Lajeunesse and seconded by Councillor Beddoes. All those in favor? Oh, pardon me, I actually need to amend this. We need to adjourn the regular meeting and reconvene the closed portion of the meeting. So it's to adjourn the open portion of October 30th and to reconvene the in-camera portion. Okay, so maybe we'll ask the mover, Beddoes, Lajeunesse. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you and good night, everyone.